So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I him, now me, I him, now me, and then that guy gets arrested for child charges, like what is going on here?
But there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well.
I don't believe this kid right now could possibly be the
I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
None of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof. He jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
What if one of the biggest voices in media just accused the government of staging a cover-up? Because that's exactly what Joe Rogan just did, and it sent the internet into complete chaos. This wasn't some small celebrity scandal or another podcast controversy. This was Joe Rogan stepping straight into one of the wildest, most confusing stories the internet's ever seen. The mysterious case surrounding Charlie Kirk, his widow, Erica, and the explosive rumors that have left everyone wondering what's real and what's been staged from the start. When Rogan spoke up, his words hit like a shockwave. Overnight, timelines flooded, podcasts lit up, and fans everywhere started asking the same question. Is Joe exposing something bigger or diving into something too dangerous to touch? But before anyone could catch their breath, the story twisted again. And suddenly, it wasn't just about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It was about who's been pulling the strings ever since. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll see why people are calling this one of the most unbelievable chapters in modern media drama.
What she is wearing seems a bit inappropriate to mourn your husband, who was literally taken out for the entire world to see. This woman is not grieving anything. She skipped straight to acceptance. This is most definitely PR, and they're using your grief for marketing. Charlie Kirk's assassination is still being covered up. She is still walking around with the same security from September 10th, saying she's so excited for the new content that she'll be releasing. Isn't it strange how a widow stepped into the CEO role? She did 3 speeches already, one at a stadium. Charlie's family didn't even speak, and she's selling t-shirts. And is already hosting her husband's podcast, now doing an all-American halftime show with performers. She's not even home with her 2 young children who just lost their dad, not to mention how they're still trying to cover up her ties in Romania.
When Joe Rogan talks, people listen, millions of them. But this time, it wasn't just another hot take or casual debate. Out of nowhere, Rogan dropped a bomb on his podcast that instantly went viral. He questioned the official story surrounding Charlie Kirk's sudden death and hinted that something about it didn't add up. He didn't name names or claim to know everything, but the tone said it all. You could hear the doubt in his voice. He described the situation as too clean, too polished, and even suggested that what the public was being told might be part of something much bigger. Within hours, clips of that segment exploded across social media. Fans started splicing together moments, pausing the video, zooming in on Rogan's expression, trying to figure out if he knew more than he was letting on. Then came the reactions. Some said Rogan was just stirring controversy for clicks. Others claimed he'd seen proof behind the scenes and was warning people without crossing legal lines.
Hold on to that thought. Did you know that Charlie Kirk's father, Robert W. Kirk, was actually the architect for Trump Towers? Also, did you know that Erica Lane Kirk won Miss Arizona USA in 2012? Don't forget, Donald Trump ran Miss America from 1996 until 2015. Seeing the correlation here? Now, not saying age difference is a big thing, but did you know Erica was 5 years Charlie Sr.? But this is where coincidences aren't coincidences. People, this was so arranged. And there's so much more to Erika Kirk. Kind of like how she was all into basketball, didn't want to be all girly, never liked to dress up, even cut all her hair off, and ended up being Miss USA. How does that happen? How do you go from sports to Miss USA? And then they meet at a Turning Point event in 2018, where she's interviewing for a job for Turning Point.
Reddit threads blew up with titles like "Rogan knows something we don't," or "Is this the next big cover-up?" But the real chaos didn't start until Rogan mentioned one name: Charlie's widow, Erica. That single comment shifted everything. Suddenly, she was at the center of a storm she never asked for, and the internet wanted answers. Because if Rogan was right, then this wasn't just about one man's death, it was about what came after. Candace Owens doesn't tiptoe into controversy, she walks straight through it. So when she decided to speak out about the Charlie Kirk situation, it was only a matter of time before things exploded even further. At first, her comments seemed like a defense, but the tone quickly shifted. Candace questioned the official story, called parts of the investigation inconsistent, and even implied that the media had twisted key details to protect certain people. Without naming names directly, she pointed toward Turning Point America and hinted that someone close to Charlie might have been pulling the strings behind the scenes. Viewers didn't have to guess who she meant. Within hours, her post was everywhere. Hashtags linking Candace and Erica started trending across X, Instagram, and YouTube. Some fans rallied behind Candace, calling her the only one brave enough to speak the truth. Others accused her of stirring chaos for attention. But either way, the narrative was out, and it was spreading faster than anyone could contain it.
I almost texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old, whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty accurate.
Nope,
No?
not hard. Not hard at all. Let me dispel that. Okay. 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. So if you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to It is not hard at all.
He a lot?
You don't have to a lot. I could do it tomorrow.
If you're no, but you are experienced. If it's someone that's never could they do it?
100%. Not
Really?
if they've never they wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring the like when you look through a scope, like when the reticle is weird, like it's sometimes
Takes a minute.
You got to know the distance that you have to be from it to really line it up in your sights. But you could get a guy like my friend Andy Stumpf, who was a sniper in the SEALs. You could get him, and he could show you how to do it in an afternoon, and then you could hit steel at 200 yards every time you pull the trigger.
One day you could learn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not that hard.
Because it feels insane to me. I'm like, that seems tough.
It seems tough. We still haven't figured out whether or not the gun that Trump had a sight on it, because we weren't sure if it had a sight on it or if this guy was using iron sights. That was 140 yards. If you shot with iron sights, that's a lot harder, because iron sights is you're lining up. So you have these two things in the back and there's one thing at the front of the barrel, and you got to line those up perfectly, and that's how you stay accurate. That is a lot harder to do.
It's like old have those, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Pistols.
Yeah,
but
pistols
you can buy a Glock.
Yeah.
That's what it comes with.
Right.
But this kid had a rifle with a scope. Now, here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle with like a sophisticated modern scope on it. Sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait.
As Candace doubled down, she went live on her podcast, delivering what many called one of her boldest rants yet. She described the situation as dark, politically controlled, and full of holes nobody wants to look at. She stopped short of making direct accusations, but her message was clear. Something wasn't right. The fallout was immediate. Erica's camp reportedly reached out privately to key media outlets trying to cool things down. But that only made things worse. People started claiming there was an organized effort to silence Candace. And for her, that just added fuel to the fire. By the end of the week, this wasn't just an internet argument, it was a full-blown civil war among conservative media giants. And if Candace Owens was right, it meant everything the public had been told might have been carefully controlled from the start. But as the noise grew louder, a new army began to rise. One that didn't need a platform, just Wi-Fi and determination. Because that's when the internet decided to launch its own investigation.
Once the feud between Candace and Erica hit the web, online detectives went to work. Every Reddit thread, every podcast clip, every grainy photo from old Turning Point events became evidence in what the internet started calling the Kirk files. It was chaotic, obsessive, and strangely organized, like thousands of strangers piecing together a mystery in real time. TikTok users started uploading timeline breakdowns, comparing Erica's appearances before and after Charlie's death. Some claimed to spot subtle shifts, her speech patterns, her body language, the way she smiled during interviews. Nothing was confirmed, but that didn't stop people from reading meaning into every gesture. Twitter threads appeared with titles like, "Was this planned?" and "The clues nobody noticed." Then came the so-called leaks. Screenshots began circulating, unverified of course, supposedly showing internal Turning Point messages about transition plans and brand continuity. Some users claimed those messages were dated before Charlie's death, which only made the story spiral further. Others pointed out that these documents could have been completely fabricated, but by then, it didn't matter. Once the theory caught fire, it became the story. Online voices began connecting dots between donors, media partners, and political groups allegedly tied to the organization. Whether those links were real or not, the narrative took on a life of its own. And through it all, one question kept resurfacing. How did Erika Kirk go from being out of the spotlight to suddenly taking control of one of the biggest conservative movements in America? That's when people noticed something strange. A sudden announcement, a carefully worded press release, and what looked like a planned public debut. Because not long after those leaks surfaced, Erica was suddenly back, standing center stage with a title nobody saw coming. Just weeks after the chaos began, the headlines changed, and Erika Kirk was suddenly everywhere. A polished press release hit major outlets announcing her as the new CEO of Turning Point America. The timing? Almost too perfect. According to official statements, the move had been in discussion for months, but online, that explanation only fueled more suspicion. People remembered the rumored internal messages that talked about a transition strategy and maintaining leadership stability. The dates lined up a little too neatly. Could this promotion really have been planned before Charlie's passing? Of course, none of that could be confirmed, but the internet didn't care. Threads started popping up claiming the entire memorial event had been part of a calculated PR rollout. Clips from Erica's emotional speech were dissected frame by frame. Some users claimed she looked more like a corporate spokesperson than a grieving wife. Others defended her, saying she was just stepping up to continue her husband's mission. Still, something about how quickly it all happened made people uneasy. Within days, she'd appeared on talk shows, podcasts, and press tours, delivering lines that sounded eerily rehearsed. And right behind her, the same board members that rumor sites claimed had pushed the transition from the start. Then another layer emerged. Several independent reporters claimed to have seen internal donation records, suggesting a sudden influx of funding, all tied to new strategic partners. No names, no confirmations, but the timing raised eyebrows. It felt like someone had flipped a switch the moment Charlie was gone. And while the public was busy debating whether Erica's rise was destiny or design, one person was watching the whole thing unfold, the same man who had started the fire in the first place. Because just as the story began to quiet down, Joe Rogan came back, and this time he wasn't holding anything back. When Joe Rogan returned to the topic, it wasn't with hesitation, it was with fire. On a new episode of his podcast, he revisited the entire situation, clearly frustrated that no one seemed to be asking the hard questions. He said, leaning in with that unmistakable tone that always signals he's about to drop something big, "It's like people are afraid to even talk about it." Rogan started by addressing the timing of Erika Kirk's promotion. He didn't accuse anyone directly, but he laid out the timeline, point by point, and let his audience connect the dots. He said, "You're telling me that an organization loses its founder, and a week later, everything's in place like it was rehearsed? That's not normal."
Clips of that moment spread like wildfire. His words hit every corner of the internet, from conservative media circles to conspiracy forums to mainstream news coverage trying to catch up. Within hours, hashtags like #Rogan exposes it and #the Kirk files were trending again. But Rogan didn't stop there. He went further, suggesting that there might be a larger machine at play, something involving media manipulation, donor influence, and carefully staged narratives. He said, "We've seen this before. A story gets cleaned up, wrapped in a bow, and sold back to the public like it's the truth." That line changed everything. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Turning Point or Erika anymore. It was about the possibility that someone bigger was behind the curtain, shaping what the public saw and believed. Critics called Rogan irresponsible for amplifying dangerous speculation. Supporters praised him for speaking truth when everyone else stayed quiet. Either way, the controversy reignited, stronger than before. And while Rogan's comments pushed the story back into the spotlight, they also brought new attention to someone who had been quietly rebranding themselves in the background, someone who was about to take center stage once again. Because not long after that episode aired, Erika finally broke her silence. After weeks of whispers, leaks, and online debates, Erika Kirk finally stepped back into the public eye, and the timing couldn't have been more calculated. Cameras caught her sitting down for a primetime interview, perfectly lit, impeccably dressed, and projecting calm confidence that contrasted sharply with the chaos swirling around her.
Her words were measured. "Charlie wanted me to continue his mission," she said, her voice steady, almost rehearsed. On the surface, it sounded like a heartfelt tribute, but viewers immediately noticed something else. Her tone, her posture, even her subtle gestures screamed corporate control rather than personal grief. Comments exploded online. "She doesn't sound like a widow. She sounds like a CEO defending her brand." Within minutes, social media erupted. Clips from the interview went viral, dissected by commentators, body language experts, and everyday users alike. Every pause, every smile, every line was analyzed. Some viewers defended her, saying she was just stepping up in impossible circumstances. Others claimed it was a full-blown takeover, carefully orchestrated from the start. Then came Candace Owens' response. She reposted the interview clip with the caption, "Continuing his mission doesn't mean rewriting his truth." That one line became a rallying cry, spreading across TikTok, X, and YouTube, igniting debates about loyalty, legacy, and control. Suddenly, what had been a behind-the-scenes controversy was now a full-scale public feud between two powerful women, one claiming to honor Charlie's legacy, the other warning that it was being manipulated. And the internet watched, debated, and dug deeper than ever before. As Erika held the stage, calm and composed, the question on everyone's mind was no longer just about her rise to power. It was, how far does this story really go? And who's pulling the strings behind it all? As Erika Kirk's public presence grew, online investigators and journalists started digging into the financial and political threads behind Turning Point America. Reports began surfacing about high-profile donors allegedly influencing the board's decision to fast-track Erika into leadership. Names like billionaire Larry Ellison repeatedly appeared in leaked documents and social media threads, sparking intense speculation about whether financial leverage had dictated the sudden promotion. Fans and commentators combed through donations, sponsorships, and archived board communications. Patterns began to emerge. New funding pledges coinciding suspiciously with Erika's rise, sudden resignations of board members who may have resisted her promotion, and emails hinting at messaging strategies to frame the public narrative. Some claimed these moves were simply strategic. Others saw a more calculated takeover. Either way, the timing felt uncanny, and the online community ran wild, connecting dots that were never officially confirmed. Every detail fueled a single, pressing question. Was this a genuine continuation of Charlie Kirk's legacy, or a coordinated effort to seize control of his empire? Just when viewers thought the saga couldn't get more intense, a single moment went viral and escalated the debate even further. A clip of Erika Kirk hugging former President Trump on stage spread across every social media platform, dissected frame by fans and body language experts alike. The closeness, the whisper near the ear, and the confidence in her stance made people question the nature of their relationship. Was it comfort, or was it strategic? Analysts suggested there was more than a ceremonial tone to the hug, a subtle signaling of alliances and influence. Social media erupted. Some users praised the interaction as an appropriate show of unity. Others called it calculated, noting Erika's poised composure while stepping into political circles previously navigated primarily by Charlie. Every click, every rewind, every pause fueled speculation. The internet's digital magnifying glass was now fully trained, scrutinizing not just her words, but her gestures, her expression, and the silent implications of her newfound influence. By this point, the story had morphed into something far bigger than a single death or succession plan. Social media threads, podcasts, and YouTube breakdowns treated the saga as a full-scale investigation. Every document, every public appearance, every interview became a potential clue. Joe Rogan's repeated commentary kept the tension high. He questioned the government's handling of the case, the leaks, and the timelines, implying that someone may have orchestrated events to control the narrative. Candace Owens' vocal opposition added fuel, warning that Charlie Kirk's true legacy could be rewritten in real time. Meanwhile, Erika's public appearances, speeches, and interviews continued to raise questions rather than quell them. Fans debated fiercely. Was she honoring her husband, consolidating power, or doing a bit of both? The online community became a hive of investigation, dissecting every detail from donations to political alliances, from handshakes to social media posts. The saga had become a web of intrigue, blending legacy, politics, and finance. And the one certainty was that no one could predict how it would unfold next. The story was far from over, and every move in the public eye was being watched, analyzed, and debated by millions.